Yeah.
Okay, so this is me taking apart my wife's LG Optimus G. It is the Sprint version, and the reason I'm doing my wife's is because she has the insurance on her phone and I do not have insurance on mine. But I'm going to take it apart because the other day a couple of us decided to root my friend's phone, and we ended up soft bricking it, and so we ended up having to use LG NPST to get the stock firmware back on, but then it would not boot, and what you'll see is the red indicator light and then the capacitive lights down here will flash back and forth, giving you an indicator that what you need to do is disconnect the battery and do a hardware reset. And since the Optimus G does not have a removable battery, you have to kind of work at it to get it out. It's not a terribly easy process, but it can be done. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to do that. The first thing that you're going to need is a T5 Torx driver. You will need a small Phillips head screwdriver, I don't know what size, and a couple of spudgers. And the spudgers you'll get to use taking the back off of the phone. The other thing that you'll want to have is a magnet, something magnetic, so that you don't lose your screws. And so what I have is this kit that I bought that is from Radio Shack, and I think it's $20. I didn't actually buy it, my friend bought it, and he's letting me use it for this video. So you need to start out by taking out these two small screws here. Once you get that first one out, okay, now the first little bit is kind of the toughest part, getting these spudgers in here. There's probably a total of about, I don't know, maybe 12 or so little pins in there that you've got to pop out, and they're just kind of all around, and so you got to get this spudger in there so that you can start pulling it out. And I find it's easiest to do on a corner, and you're just going to have to work at this to get the first one off. Once they get going, it's fairly easy, but the first couple are not very easy. I just broke that spudger. So what you can use if you don't want to use a spudger that will break is you can also use needles and thumbtacks. And you just heard that pop. That was the first pin there. So in this little kit that I bought, there's also this guy. That might work a little bit better, I suppose. So that actually worked a lot better. I didn't do it that way this morning. Looks like you can just slide that guy right along the edge there, and you can hear it pop out those pins. Now you want to get the bottom pins popped out before you pop out anything up much further. Just popped them back in. That is my parents' dog that you probably hear behind me. She's got issues. Alright, so see, I've popped most of the pins here. And you can see right here is where the pins are. And they're like that all the way around the phone. So just keep working at it. Don't let them pop back into place. And eventually what you're going to find is the power and the volume key will just drop out. And that's okay. They're supposed to do that. They are a little bit of a pain to get back in, but with a little bit of Scotch tape, it actually makes it pretty easy, pretty straightforward. So, you just got to kind of work at this thing for a little bit. And you want to be careful because remember that the back of this thing is glass. And if you bend it too much, that glass is going to break. So that's your volume key there. That's a good thing. Special thanks goes out to my wife for putting up with me while doing this. Everybody should know that she did not want to do this, but she did agree to film it for me. There we go. Alright, so now you can see there is your Optimus G. Now, what you want to be aware of is that opening it up will void the warranty. So, This bit of blue tape right here, you will need to take off. And there are a couple of little screws right here, one each. And when you remove those screws, you can use the spudger. Just get it under the lip here and work it off slowly. Be careful not to pull up too quickly or too suddenly. If you detach any of the transistors or anything under there that is soldered on to the phone, you could screw up your phone. So just go easy with this thing. You'll pull that off. It just flips right up, kind of like this. And you can leave it unplugged for maybe 60 seconds and do a hardware reset. So, what we learned today, that's a nice little trick, is that if you use a little bit of Scotch tape and tape the power button and the volume button into place before putting it back together, that you can save yourself a whole lot of headache, because these things pop out incessantly. So you don't need much. Just hold it in there and put it in place. Just kind of on the edge there. Make sure that the whole thing's there and pull it tight. And then you can see it doesn't fall out. And when you're putting this thing back together, that is a very nice thing. And just do the same with the power key here. And again, just pull it nice and tight. Make sure that that tape holds it in place. And then be careful. We found today that it's best to reattach everything, putting the back of the phone flat on your table, and then just slowly push it back into place. Now this thing you saw just popped apart. It's not going to be any different getting it back together. You're going to see that your pins are just going to pop right back into place here. So that you can see these are the pins here that pop into place. And now that it's off, you can see that there's 4 of them up top, 1 in each corner, 4 along the sides, 2 on the bottom, and 2 in the corners on the bottom. So you've got quite a few of these things. If you decide to undertake this project, you've got quite a few of them that you got to pop back into place. Make sure that they all snap back into place when you're done. And just be kind of firm with it. Don't force it. But you'll just hear these things snap back into place. And go around the phone a couple times. Make sure everything snaps in, that it's tight. You see the phone is coming back on. So we didn't screw anything up. My wife is very grateful for that. Put your Torx screws back in. Be careful with these Torx screws. They're very easy to strip. So when you tighten it back down, just be firm with it. Don't strip them out. And there you go. You have taken apart and put back together your Optimus G and have successfully hardware reset your phone. Take your tape off and you're good to go. You'll see that the buttons still work just fine. And my wife's phone doesn't have a charge right now, but let's see if it'll come on here. Yeah, it's pretty dead. Probably should have done it when it was charged so you could see that it does turn back on, but it does. Have fun.